All right, welcome to the November 2022 Disability Ministry Video Roundtable from Key Ministry. My name is Beth Golick, and I'm with Key, and I am joined by, oh, there she is, Catherine Boyle, who's our Director of Mental Health Ministry. And today we are talking about inclusive design in social media. And so this came about, it's a topic we have covered making your websites more accessible before. We did that as a roundtable topic a couple years ago. But this particular topic came up about a month and a half ago or so. Key Ministry was kind of called out on Twitter for the fact that the images that we tweet as part of our post as part of our tweets, were not accessible to those with vision impairments. We were not using alt text. And so that really kind of got us thinking, like, you don't know what you don't know. And so let's learn, and let's learn from the experts who are the people with disabilities who are using things like, screen readers and that type of thing to access content. So we would love, especially if you have experience using assistive technology or that type of thing to access social media content, website content, we would love to hear what your experience is and how we as churches and ministries can do better with our social media, with our websites, to make our content more accessible. I also have, I've done like a little bit of research, talked to some people, so I do have some things to share, but I really want this to be a conversation so that we can learn from the experts and just really kind of help each other. So I'll open it up if anybody wants to start with either a question or their own personal experience. So would anybody like to start? I'm looking for hands. No, okay, I'll start. Okay, so one of the things that I learned is the difference between descriptive text and alt text. And so again, I am not the expert, so feel free to correct me or to jump in, but here's my understanding. So some social media platforms like Instagram, for instance, are very image heavy. I mean, that's kind of what Instagram is, right? It's mostly the visual with some text. And so there's kind of two ways you can make an image accessible to someone who has a vision impairment. So one is to describe the image, describe what the picture is in the body of whatever the post is. So in the actual, so all of us can read the description. Okay, so it's in the caption or the post or whatever. Then there's something called alt text, alternative text, abbreviated ALT-TXT or TEXT. And that is something that would be invisible to those of us who are reading it, are seeing it visually, but it's picked up by screen readers. So screen readers will read out loud what the image is or how the image has been described. And you can test this out if you go on, I'll just use Twitter because this is the example that kind of brought this to our attention and that I covered in a podcast episode. But if on Twitter, if you look in the bottom left-hand corner and there's the letters ALT directly on the image, you can click on that and the alt text will come up. So if you are a social media user who uses a screen reader, it will just automatically read that as you're scrolling. So so that's one example of how you can make social media more accessible for your audience. Any questions or any comments so far? Because now I'm going to tell you like the problems. Anyone? Okay. So, oh, good. Andrea raised her hand. Where's Andrea? There she is. Hello.
What about Facebook? Like, how does that work on like pages? Because that's primarily for the population I work with, what we use.
Okay.
And I have no idea how to do this.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Okay. First of all, let me back up by saying I am actually not the social media person for Key Ministry. Okay. So.
And I'm not either. I used to be, but I'm not now.
Yes. Okay. So it's neither of us. So we're actually not the experts in like the ins and outs of how to do this, but here's what I'm going to tell you. I did talk to Christy, our social media person. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you Google how to add alt text for each of the platforms, in theory, it'll tell you how to do it. But here's what we're learning. Okay. First of all, some social media platforms will automatically do alt text, like they can somehow figure out what the image is and they will describe it. Okay. What I've read though, and I went to brailleworks. I think it's .org or .com, did a really good piece on this. They're not always 100% accurate. Okay. Like you may have more, there may be more meaning behind what you're posting than what they're actually going to capture in a automated description or whatever. So I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do it in Facebook, but here's what I'm learning. You really want to try to get that alt text in before you post anything. So on Twitter, for instance, you would like select your image, do your whatever, upload your image, get ready, do your little caption or whatever it is, do your alt text and then post. Because once it's posted, you can't go back and edit because that's Twitter. I mean, that's what Twitter is. So it's kind of different for each platform, but so that's one thing that I'm told, try to remember to do it before you post. It'll just make your life easier. The other thing that I'm hearing, and so if anybody has any experience with this, please chime in. Also know that these things change like all the time. And so if you're watching this recording, like 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years later, everything's probably changed, right? But what I'm hearing is that Meta, like the Meta Business Suite, which is what you would use for like Facebook and Instagram, is not cooperating right now with alt text. That's what I'm hearing. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm sure it's a hopefully short-lived thing, but that's what our social media person is experiencing right now. So you would think that they would, like this is a thing that covers multiple platforms. You'd hope that they can get that figured out, but apparently not right now. So, so that is kind of answering your question, Andrea, but not really. Hopefully that kind of helps. The question in the chat right now is it better to use alt text or descriptions in the post text? Okay, so I described the two different things. So one, descriptive text, everybody can read it. So a screen reader would read it. And if you're visually reading, you would read it. And the alt text is only read by screen readers. And it's sort of invisible to those of us who are visually seeing the post. I would love to have somebody who is vision impaired answer this question. I'll give you my take on it. I think that for a lot of images, you would not, alt text would be preferable, because the image for someone who is like visually seeing it, you get what the image is. but there may be cases. I mean, I've clicked on the alt text to read some of the descriptions, and some of them are so good because they're really conveying like the emotion of the person in the picture or whatever, that I almost wish that it had been descriptive text so that we could all read it. I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on that, especially if you have experience or know someone who uses the screen reader for social media? No. Okay. So one of the ways that, you know, how to write alt text. So imagine that you're looking at your favorite meme and you call up your friend, they can't see it, and you need to describe it to your friend, okay? And so they have, you know, they don't have any like the background context or anything, so you need to describe what you're looking at. So, you know, you would include like whatever the picture is, you would include the text that's on the picture. So that's kind of what alt text is. You don't need to use words like this is an image of blah, 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 or this picture, you know, the description of this picture is, but you don't use anything like that. You just kind of jump right into it. I'm told, I've read that you don't need to describe colors or shapes, like that's not an important part of the image that you're trying to describe. If a post, like, you know how a lot of times there's a post, so it has a bunch of text and then maybe like a border or like a colorful background or something. You don't need to describe the border because it's not really an integral part of the message. Amy.
So maybe everybody else knows, how exactly do you create this? Like, let's say
Yeah.
you're going on Twitter and you're putting a post, do you type in alt text and it automatically does it, or do you have to do something else?
So it's a little different in each social media platform. So that's why I'm saying like maybe like Google how to, I'm afraid if I tell you it's like a little bit different than like if you're using Meta Business Suite to post versus just posting on Facebook. Like I don't want to tell people the wrong like technical thing. But it is, Catherine, help me out. It is part of the posting process on most of the social media platforms. So if you Google like how to do alt text on Facebook, like it'll tell you how to do it. That's a really not a good answer, but I don't want to tell people the wrong thing. And like I feel like it changes all the time. Let's see, we've got a couple hands raised. Andrea.
So can you go ahead, like if I'm making a post and I have a picture and I'm telling what we were doing, I can go ahead and put my normal words and also add an alt text, or do you have to
Yes.
do one or the other?
No, yeah, I mean, yes, you can do both. So there are two ways you can do it. So you could have a picture of, you know, a kid eating an ice cream cone, okay? And we had a great time at our ice cream social. You could then, in that same caption or the same post, you could say, you know, picture ID, smiling kid eating strawberry ice cream cone. Or you could click on alt text or, you know, however it is in that particular platform and type in the alt text, which won't show up in the body of your post, but for a screen reader, it will read it. So you could do either one. You could do both, I suppose, but that's a lot of.
That's what I meant. Could I, without, like if I said, like Sunday, we packed shoe boxes for Operation Christmas Child. And I said, you know, we packed this many shoe boxes today in our class.
Yeah.
Go ahead and say that. And then also select alt text and give a description of what the picture
is.
like.
Yes,
Okay.
because the screen reader will read both. It'll describe the image
Okay.
and then read your post.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, please.
Amy, we see your hand up. So in my mind, think about it like if you do anything in the back end of your website. So like if you create a blog post and then you have a dashboard where you can see all your blog posts, there's probably different fields where you can fill out more information so that it's more searchable or more findable in searches. And so in my head, that's the kind of thing that you're looking for within whatever platform that you're working in, is like, you know, there's going to be some additional fields that aren't the basic ones that you fill out every single time.
Mhm.
You may have to like kind of hunt for it the first time, but then you'll see where it is, and it can become habit.
Yeah. And so Catherine brings up a point, and that's websites. And, you know, it's same thing. Like there is a way on websites. And again, like if you use Squarespace or WordPress or whatever it is that you use or your church uses, a quick Google search will tell you how to add alt text. And then you can just make that part of every time you post an image, just make sure that there's that alt text in there. Same with MailChimp and other email, whatever you call those things, email
Service providers.
There's 100%, there's a way to add alt text to any images that you include in an email campaign. I mean, we use MailChimp, and I can tell you when I upload an image to MailChimp, one of the choices, you know, you can edit the image, you know, link the image, you know, include a link. So somebody clicks on the image, it goes to something. And one of the things in there is alt text. So it's just a matter of making it part of your routine. So a week or so ago, I did a podcast episode for Key Ministry. So everybody subscribe to Key Ministry, the podcast. And it was on, it was about when we were called out by Twitter, because what happened was as I said, we had an image with no description, and somebody said, like, isn't it ironic that, you know, like basically like a disability ministry is posting things that aren't accessible to those with disabilities, basically is what they were saying. And anyway, we got a really great response from people saying, like, thank you for looking into this, and, you know, thank you for raising awareness on this. And somebody commented, I don't know if it was on Facebook or in an email to me, I can't remember, but she specifically said websites. She said, you know, there are churches that I haven't attended because I can't read their website. Like the information's not available. Because if you think about it, screen readers, if you're just posting and like the info is on an image, like, so let's say you have a really great graphic, it's a picture and it's got like the times of your services on this awesome image. Well, screen reader can't read that. So unless you have it accessible as text or alt text, a screen reader is not going to be able to read it, and a person can't get the information so that you can welcome them to your church. Amy.
So as you were explaining this, I just did a Google search like on Facebook, and it says it automatically does it, but you can go back to old pictures and change it.
Okay.
So I was just looking at one of my pictures, and you go to the 3 little dots on the right-hand corner, and then it'll open up and you can change it to alt text. Because I put a picture up of the Luke 14 banquet, and it's a beautiful painting, but it says maybe art, and that's all it says.
Right.
So
So that's exactly right. So it did it automatically, but maybe not exactly the message you were trying to convey. So
you can change it once it's already posted.
Yeah. So Facebook, you can definitely, so thank you, Amy. So that's how you can go in and edit for Facebook. Again, though, like I mentioned, Twitter, you can't. So if you forget to do the alt text for Twitter, you're going to have to like make it a comment or retweet it somehow. But because you can't edit in Twitter. Yes, to Tori's question, she's asking, can you add it to alt text to your website as well? Yes. So again, Google, like, how do I add alt text in Squarespace or WordPress? And so that's something, that you can try to remember to do like the first time, but if not, you can go back and edit the website for sure.
Can I ask a question of the group? So is anybody using platforms other than Facebook and Twitter and like YouTube and Vimeo and
Instagram.
Instagram. Because that we use the basic ones. We don't use anything that's maybe newer and kind of less prevalent. I'm just curious if anybody else does.
Let's do it. Let's do a little show of hands. Who primarily uses Facebook for, this is for your ministry, okay? Who primarily uses Facebook? You can raise your hand or click on your hand. Okay, so a lot of Facebook. How about Instagram? Okay, about half maybe Instagram. And how about Twitter? Okay, a lot less with Twitter. Okay. And then how many have a okay, another one for oh yes, and Mariah, yes. Shine On does an awesome job on their Instagram, actually, so everybody should follow them. TTF Shine On. And let's see, what about, do you have a website, like a web page or website that is kind of dedicated to your ministry? So about half. Okay. Okay, great. So I do challenge you to, you know, you don't, I personally, I don't know that I would spend my time going back in history and trying to redo everything, although my website, that one I think is worth getting caught up. But yes, so a lot of people, their ministry is within their main church website. That does not make us exempt from bringing this to the attention of those who do the website for our church as a whole. I mean, this is a conversation that I know I want to have with our communications team at my church, because I mean, this is just a thing we can do to be more welcoming and to make our churches more accessible. So let's talk a little bit about video. And I don't know that we have anybody on here that is either hearing impaired or working with anyone who is. So hopefully we do, but I'll just give you like my thoughts and then we can discuss. So I know YouTube is, you know, kind of, a lot of us maybe use YouTube with our ministries or with our churches, or Vimeo. It's my understanding that YouTube can automatically caption your videos. So if you're sharing a sermon or a training video or something, if you're sharing that on YouTube, YouTube can automatically caption it, which is helpful for those who are hard of hearing, but it's helpful for a lot of people. So that's one of those things where doing it for some really can help all. I mean, I'm one of those people that really, really, really appreciate captioning on videos. So yeah, Julie.
I just wanted to say that our Amy is hearing impaired. And so she has learned how to, and she loves to make videos.
Yes,
And so
she
she
makes very good
learned-
videos as well. So yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and she loves it. And she's really experimented a lot about the hearing impaired stuff. So she knows more about that than we do, but I've seen one of her frustrations is, again, they don't always get it right. And then she's like, that's not what I said, you know, and so she gets a little miffed and has to correct it for herself. But it is at least something to start with.
Yes, yes. So yes, we have to all understand that it's not going to 100% capture, like one thing I'll notice, like God is always lowercase g on the YouTube, you know, so we know that, like, there's some things they're just not going to get right, but yes, and thank you, and continue to learn from Amy, please, and share with us. So Mariah, your hand is up.
Hey, sorry, I was eating lunch, so I was off camera, but yeah, so we anytime we do post any videos, we do not rely on YouTube or Google to translate for us because it's just not reliable at times. We do get a lot of wisdom from what other people are doing, although it is good and it's a simple way to post something on there and automatically have it captioned. You can even do it on Instagram too if you're doing like an Instagram story. If you swipe up, there's a way it'll just auto caption it for you, but oftentimes it's not reliable, whether that's missing words, missing a sentence, or even just the tone of what you're trying to say too would be a little different. Or if you're using like, it's little g for God instead of big G, things like that are really important. So we currently use, there's so many systems out there to add captions. But Adobe like Premiere Pro would do it for you as well. A lot of things will transcribe it for you. There are different like platforms out there. I think that's the better bet. It is an investment at times, whether that's time or financially as well. But I think it does help for those that are deaf or hard of hearing or just hearing and want some captions. A lot of people, there's studies that are shown that if you have captions on videos, the way people retain it, even those that are hearing, it's way more, if you're trying to, hey, we have an event going on, if you're reading it and hearing it, it just does something. A lot of people, same way, like if they're in a class and while they take notes, it just helps you digest things better too. So I would definitely suggest utilizing a platform to create those captions in order to create them in a better way. So you're not missing the mark on anything.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, Mariah. So I'm hearing a couple things here. So one is the point she made that whether or not you are deaf or hard of hearing, like captioning can be really helpful in how you retain information. I also think like if you're scrolling through and you're in a place where you can't be listening to things anyway, you can still watch the video if there's captions. So, and then also, yes, these things do transcribe automatically, but if you really want to make sure that your message is conveyed the way you want it to, you can use some of these tools. And you said Adobe Premiere.
Right. Yeah. There's a few different packages within Adobe that you're able to purchase. Premiere Pro has a bunch of different things. I think it's like a cheaper package that way because it has a bunch of different features on there. So if you are gonna, spend the money for it, that might make the most sense for you and your team. So you can edit the videos or pictures or create graphics. So it might be a little cost effective to do it that way. That's what we personally do. But there are settings in there that'll help you. It's just you transcribe the text. It'll do it same thing automatically for you. So you'll have to go back in there sometimes and edit a few different sentences or make sure that it's tracking at the right time length. So it is an investment, again, financially and time wise. But the payoff and the reward is really great for it too. If I could also mention too, I know you guys were talking about the website just a few minutes ago. There is a company out there called Accessibility. I can put it in the chat. But they help make all websites accessible, which is really, really great. And it's an amazing feature for your website. So if you guys have not looked into that, I know for a lot of nonprofits, they offer nonprofit discounts or we'll do it completely for free. So you can reach out to the team there. It's Accessibility instead of Accessibility. But I'll put it in the chat. But that's a really great way to start to become accessible. They have a whole bunch of different features, whether it's for the blind community. There's so many different things. It's really remarkable what they're able to do. So I would look into that if you guys have not done that yet.
That's great. Thank you, Mariah. That's great information. And yes, she will put that in the chat. And then I will read that out loud because those watching this recording will not have access to the chat, but we will put it in the show notes for this episode. Tori, you had your hand raised and then did you get tired and put it down? Where are you?
Yeah, so I just had a quick question. For Mariah, all of those great resources that you shared, do you know of any that are free that are still great to use as well, or have any recommendations there?
Yeah, there are some that we use in the past. Now it's hard. I think if they are free, like they'll only let you do like a video a month or something. Like there are like some kind of catches with that. And what the videos that we do, I kind of want to knock them out a few at a time. So it just didn't work for us in that sense.
Okay.
But I know that there are some that they'll give like a trial method or it's way cheaper than Adobe would be. I think we pay like $80 a month for Adobe. But again, it's a Premiere Pro, so it has a package of a bunch of different options.
Okay.
So we try to utilize it to the best. But I think now there's such a wave of people creating content like this. So there might be something that fits your needs that would be more cost effective, if not free.
Yeah. The other thing, and so it's better to do something than nothing. And so in Mariah's case, she's with the Tim Tebow Foundation. It's, pretty important that they're like the captions are saying the right thing. Okay. But if we're sharing content, I mean, I have seen where videos say captioning auto-generated so that the viewer knows that it might not be 100%. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you need to get some videos out there, I think it's commonplace these days to, state that the captions are auto-generated. And then at least then you have the info immediately accessible to your audience. If you don't have the time and finances to do, some of the other ways of transcribing. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? But I
think it does. I would still try. I mean, if you are posting something and you're wanting it to be accessible, I wouldn't miss the mark on that. I would definitely try to prioritize that. That way you're not leaving anyone out, even when there are things that are auto-generated captions, especially if you're trying to reach those that are deaf or hard of hearing. They're not going to know like what's missed out and what's right. So I would say if you are going to continue to pursue it that way and we don't have the finances or the time to kind of edit it, I would at least watch it back, that video, whether it's a 3 or 5 minute video, and then it misses it says, something's on a Monday and it's really on a Sunday, and it just misrepresented that word. So watch it back and see what the misstep is, and then maybe include that in your caption. So you're making sure you're addressing it instead of someone, reaching out and saying, well, I thought this was that and that because I relied on the captions that you provided and it was incorrect. So I would make sure that if you're not going to go, and it doesn't take like a whole lot of time to edit a video. If you're doing a common like few minute video, it doesn't take a whole lot of time. It just maybe an added 20 minutes per what you're doing. And as you obviously get used to it, it'll become a lot quicker. But yeah, I would still kind of be aware of what you're putting out there, because it can easily say something totally different than what you're trying to be on track for.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, good point. Any other thoughts on video? Has anybody been using captioning? I've been putting out videos and using captioning. Yeah, Julie.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just texted Amy to see what she does. And I'll just read to you. It's pretty much along what we're talking about, but she has an additional thing. There are lots of apps for words on a video, but I just use my videos, my computer's video editor, and sometimes the caption feature on social media like Facebook and TikTok. And then I said, what about when they do get it wrong? And she says on Facebook and TikTok, she can go back and make changes.
Oh, good. Okay, great. So that's kind of a combo of what, like that includes what Mariah said too, like go back and watch it. And so it's good to know you can actually edit it as part of the thing. Okay. Yeah, we didn't talk about TikTok. Is anybody using TikTok?
Amy is.
Okay. So tell me, like, what brought you to this conversation today? Like, why are you on this roundtable today? Does anybody want to share?
I will.
Okay, yeah, Amy.
Ultimately, it's something I didn't know and probably should be using. As much posting as I do, or as interacting with the community as we do, I want to make sure that we're hitting everything that we can possibly do to reach them. So I had no idea about any of this.
Yeah, we
I
don't
knew
know
about closed captioning, but not this.
Yeah. Thanks.
No,
Anybody
I'll
else?
share.
Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah, I'll share as well that I came today because I'm interested in learning how to make social media sites more accessible. It's something I hadn't thought a lot about, but just want to learn how to do, especially captioning of videos, and I preach many sermons, and it's important to have them that are now recorded. So important to have those captioned and things like that. So
Yeah, thank you. Tina shared in the chat, same, she was not aware until she heard the podcast. Yeah. Yeah, it's a learning experience, and I'm glad everybody's here. And yeah, I think again, obviously we are not the technical experts, clearly, but just bringing the discussion to the, bringing this to the table and the opportunity to kind of discuss. Honestly, I really would encourage, get feedback from, your followers or your friends or whatever who perhaps have a vision impairment or who are hard of hearing or deaf, and ask for their feedback, because the best way we're going to learn is from the people who are actually using the assistive technology. Like I know from one of our fellow Roundtable members who's not here on this one today, but we talked about like in texting, so like screen readers that read your text. If you text a whole bunch of emojis, well, like it's gonna say like smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, laughing face, poop, or whatever, whatever it is. So, you be aware of that and be thoughtful of that. So when you do a post, don't do 40 emojis in your post, or it's gonna be really annoying for people with screen readers. Let's see, Lauren has, where is Lauren? Oh, there. Hello, Lauren. You jumped into a different part of my screen. Hello, Lauren.
No problem. I am new to our church as a part-time paid position for special needs ministry, plus a bunch of other stuff. But one of the things that I think this brings to my mind, which I just reinforces things that I've been thinking about, is it's not necessarily all about creating programs and services type things for the population, but how are we total in general with everything we do, thinking about making it accessible.
Yes.
And so this was just when this popped up, I'm like, oh my goodness, I never thought about this with our website. So, and our social media. So it's not necessarily specific for my ministry per se, but just for the church in general to make things accessible, just like we're looking at seating and signage. And I mean, that's really what my first role, besides meeting the immediate needs of the people that God has brought in, but is, okay, let's go through everything, the physical building, how we're, the signage is all where you can't see it. It has to be up higher so people can see it above heads and those sorts of things. So
yeah,
this is just
that's like, yes, that's kind of the whole point of this. This is not a quote special needs, and I'm air quoting in case you're not watching me, special needs ministry thing. Like this is, it's a mindset. This is what our churches should be doing. So yes, thank you, Lauren. Thank you for that perspective. And I 100% agree. Yeah. All right, well, since we're not giving like technical advice on this, because we're not the ones that are the experts in this, but does this give you enough food for thought? Like, does this give you enough information to say, okay, I'm going to, research this, and this, or I'm going to talk to my church about this, and this? Like, does this give you enough information kind of to, okay, all right, good. Then check, mission accomplished. Yeah, you're not going to be experts by the time we leave today, but at least this gives you enough information to kind of get thinking, get started, and have some other conversations. Any last thoughts or anything before we sign off? No? Okay, so I do encourage you, there's two things related to this I encourage you to check out. So we did do a disability ministry video roundtable on this, I don't know, a year or two ago. And so if you go to keyministry.org and go to our video roundtables page, which is under the churches tab, you can actually watch that recording or listen to that recording. Also, podcast, Key Ministry, the podcast, episode 27, I believe, was on this subject, and you can listen to it on your favorite podcast app, or you can go to keyministry.org/podcast and you can read the show notes from there. So I encourage, it's like a 5-minute episode. So if you have 5 minutes, go for a walk, listen to the podcast, get some ideas. All right, Catherine, did you have anything else to add?
Just quickly that we have our next online event in 2 weeks. On the 30th, we're going to have a webinar on parentification, which is when otherwise well-meaning adults typically inadvertently put adult-sized issues on child-sized shoulders, and how to prevent, and then how to maybe come alongside and repair that as well. And we'll have a couple of special guests with us to talk about that. So definitely check out our events page on our website and sign up to join us that day.
All right, thank you. So keyministry.org/events. All right, and on that note, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And we will see you next month. Thank you.